Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Honor to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. My utmost respect to the perfectly enlightened Samma Sambuddha, the noble doctrine of the Buddha, and the noble Mahasangha, the disciples of the Buddha. Hello, dear Dhamma friends. Welcome to the week number 2 of our Special Dhamma Talk series with Venerable Watagoda Maggavihari, the Vice President of the International Institute of Theravada. Under this weekly Dhamma Talk series, we will cover some really important topics on Theravada Buddhism to help benefit our community around the world. I certainly believe this collaborated effort by Dhamma USA and IIT is going to open up more horizon on Dhamma knowledge among our community. We are so delighted to have Venerable Maggavihari's contribution for this series, as I'm confident that he is one of the most capable young Sri Lankan monks who has been amply trained with both Dhamma knowledge and practice. Dear Dhamma friends, please mark your calendar every Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and 8 p.m. Sri Lanka and India time to get more benefited. Kindly check with Dhamma USA and IIT YouTube channels and Facebook pages for more updates. Today marks a very special day as we celebrate Most Venerable Navayani Iddhipada Nayaka Thero's birthday. Late Venerable Iddhipada Nayaka Thero is one of the most well-respected Sri Lankan monks in the recent past for his profound Dhamma knowledge and practice. Venerable Maggavihari is one of his brightest students, and today Venerable Maggavihari and IIT are going to be more busier with conducting so many Dhamma programs at IIT. But we will not disappoint you, as we have very special pre-recorded Dhamma talk by Venerable Maggavihari exclusively for today's event. I'm pretty sure you are all going to enjoy this topic today, that is 4 Iddhipadas, 4 bases for spiritual powers. Kindly send your questions in the comment section of our YouTube channels so that we can answer them next week. Let us take this opportunity to respectfully remember late Venerable Navayani Iddhipada Thero on his birthday. May he attain his cherished dream of attaining the perfect enlightenment Samma Sambuddha. With that good intention, let me allow Venerable Maggavihari's Dhamma sharing on Iddhipada. Please pay your due attention seriously to achieve maximum benefit from today's Dhamma sharing. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. Today, as the second Dhamma talk of our series, which has been conducted by the IIT in collaboration with the Dhamma USA. So today I would like to discuss about a very significant topic. In Pali we call Iddhipada. Iddhipada. The normal translation would be the means or reasons of accomplishment. Previously we discussed about the path to liberation, the eightfold noble eightfold path, Arya Attangika Magga or Arya Attangika Magga. In terms of the requisites of enlightenment, Bodhipakkhiyas, the 7 groups, the last is the eightfold noble eightfold path, and in the list, third is the reasons of accomplishment or causes of accomplishment, which we render into Pali as Iddhipada. There are 4 Iddhipadas, namely Chanda, Virya, Chitta and Vimansa. It is said in the scriptures that one needs to have at least one of these predominant factors, sometimes we may call it predominant factor, in order to attain higher sublime achievements. Before we explain what they are, it's important to know, as they are being translated as the means of accomplishment or reasons of accomplishment, we first need to find out what are the accomplishments explained in the Buddhist teachings. Normally the word for accomplishment in Pali is Iddhi. Iddhi. In Sanskrit we call it Riddhi. There are 5 types of accomplishments. Abhinyayesu Dhammesu Abhinya Siddhi. It is the accomplishment of deeply understanding something that should be understood in terms of its intrinsic nature. For that we should know what is an intrinsic nature. Intrinsic nature is the quality of a certain reality that really exists. Now, for instance, consciousness has the characteristic of knowing an object, delimiting and knowing an object, having delimited, having separated it from other objects. For the craving, lobha, it has the nature of attaching towards us, at an object or on an object. So likewise, if something really exists, it has its own intrinsic nature, inbuilt quality. Knowing the realities in their intrinsic nature is called abhinya. Abhinya. Sometimes the word can be used for supernatural powers such as levitating, knowing others' minds and so forth. But here, abhinya means knowing realities in their true nature. In the Theravada Dhamma, we have 72 realities. In another way, we may say it's 82 realities. Knowing them in their intrinsic nature is the act called abhinya. Now, to clarify this a bit, if someone knows a person, now think about the preacher here. If you know that this is a monk or is a person or a male who is preaching Dhamma, if you know me as a male or a person or a human being, that is knowing me in terms of concepts. Because if you thoroughly investigate what there is in the place where you call Venerable Maggavihari, a human or a male, whatever, in that place you cannot find a one reality or a thing or a nature, singularity, that can be termed as Venerable Maggavihari or as a monk. There is no such a thing that could represent the entirety of this person. When we investigate this I would call this place, you find that there is a body, there is a separate something called mind, which is a separate element, and with the mind there are certain emotions, and also the body can be reduced into certain particles. Eventually, according to the Theravada tradition, we end up with hardness, softness, heat, coldness, all these natures which we call the four great elements, and also the derived matter. Therefore, the place, the person or the thing that was called Maggavihāri is a collection of certain things or certain natures. It's better to use the word natures. Therefore, knowing the collection as something else. Now, there is no such a thing called monk. There is no such a identity called monk in these realities, these natures. So, knowing someone as a person or a human being or a respective with the respective name, it's not knowing in terms of reality. Now, if someone understands that here the place, now that this person whom I call I myself is a collection of realities, collection of the four great elements, the consciousness, mental factors and so forth, then it is knowing realities in their intrinsic nature. So in the act of abhiññā, in the act of abhiññā, one has to overcome the concept and understand the realities in their true natures. To give an example, to illustrate something, now knowing, now in terms of physics, the particle physics, now think about a chair. Chair is made out of certain elements or chemicals which can be reduced into subatomic particles, electrons, quarks, eventually which make the neutrons and protons, according to the physical science, which cannot be reduced any further. So knowing a chair in terms of the subatomic particles is knowing, according to physics, knowing it in its reality, because according to physics it cannot be reduced any further. Likewise, in the teachings of Theravada, or teachings, mainly the teachings of the Buddhist teachings, knowing something in terms as consciousness, as a knowing some person, something as a collection of realities such as four great elements, the consciousness, the mental factors, is the act of abhiññā. Is the act of abhiññā, because according to Buddhism, according to Theravadians, these natures cannot be reduced any further. So it's sort of a reductionist theory. That is a one sort of an accomplishment. It's not just merely knowing it with wisdom. Here the accomplishment is knowing it with direct experience. For instance, whenever you see a person or whenever you think about someone or something, instead of having that conceptual idea, if your mind ends up in knowing that this is a bunch of realities, this is a collection of realities. Now, for example, when we think about our mother, instead of thinking her as a human being or the person whom I care, if you know that it's just a collection of realities, so in other terms, collection of 5 aggregates, 12 bases, 18 elements, dhatu, ayatana or khanda. This is the act of knowing in terms of abhiññā. One can know this, one can understand this idea by learning or conceptualizing or through intellect. But here the accomplishment is knowing it in practical level, in the practical level. Therefore, a person who has accomplished this is rarely, that it's very seldom that he would get defilements regarding anyone or anything, because most of the places he would end up in knowing the things in their actual nature. It doesn't mean that he'll always be he will always have such an idea, but the ignorance has to be removed. So it's a sort of a accomplishment that has to be attained through constant practice. Because it's our nature, the nature of the mind is to go into the concepts, because that is our habit, that is our normal domain. The mind likes to exist, or mind likes to be or remain, because it's quite easy to know things in their as concepts. Concept means now collection of realities are known as certain things. The four great elements that are that exist in a certain manner in the space is named as a chair. The same great elements, when structured in a different manner, we call it a table. So likewise, not knowing the things in their actuality is our habit. In order to know the realities in their actual nature, one has to be mindful all the time, and has to have a deep understanding, and only then one will be able to accomplish this. It's not an easy task. Just intellectually or having the knowledge on this would not suffice someone to have accomplished this act of abhiññā. Then the second accomplishment is parinyayesu dhammesu pariññā siddhi. Parinyayesu dhammesu pariññā siddhi, act of pariññā. So in the act of abhiññā, the object is the intrinsic natures of the realities. In the act of pariññā, the object means object of the consciousness in this act would be the universal characteristics. There are three universal characteristics: impermanence, anicca lakkana, the nature of begetting suffering, dukkha lakkana, nature of causing suffering. Then the non-selfness, anatta lakkana, anicca lakkana, dukkha lakkana, and anatta lakkana. When you think about the matter, the rupa or the aggregates, consciousness, chitta, mental factors, cetasikas, what really there are, what really exists, they all, except the unconditioned nirvana, they all possess these three attributes. They arise and pass away, so they are impermanent. They are with the nature of impermanence, or they undergo the phenomenon of impermanence, we can call. So we should be able to differentiate the meanings, ideas of impermanent, the adjectival word, and the impermanence, the noun word. A reality which is under the phenomenon of impermanence is called something impermanent. Therefore, the realities that were known in terms of their intrinsic nature by the act of abhiññā. I'll repeat again because it's something quite a deep concept. With the act of abhiññā, we got to know what there is, the realities that exist in their intrinsic nature, in their inbuilt quality, which cannot be reduced any further into any substance or any ingredients. So these realities, these qualities, except the unconditioned reality, possess three common characteristics. They arise and pass away, so they are impermanent. So one one has to know, in order to gain spiritual development, one has to know the intrinsic, has to know the nature of impermanence of these realities. They arise and pass away. Not having existed before, they suddenly pop up or come into existence due to causes, and they vanish as quickly. Therefore, these realities are impermanent. They are under the phenomenon of impermanence. Then they cause suffering, the mental and physical pain. They are reasons of mental and physical pain. Therefore, they are termed as dukkha. They cause the suffering, these realities. If you possess this body, if you possess the consciousness, the suffering is inevitable. It will surely follow. And then, as the impermanent realities are out of our control, are not under our control, and if some reality brings forth suffering, It indicates that it's out of our control. If something is beyond our control, if something cannot be controlled, and if something is not a permanent thing that would exist as a self, such a thing is called the non-self, is called a non-self reality. The non-selfness is the nature of not being able to be controlled. Is the nature of the reality not being a self. Though we understood the realities in their intrinsic nature, one has to have a much deeper understanding to know these three phenomena associating these realities, or the phenomenon under which these realities exist. These realities, mind, matter and consciousness, we have three realities, four ultimate realities: the consciousness, citta; mental factors, cetasika; matter, the rupa; and nirvana, the unconditioned reality. So leave apart the unconditioned reality. So these three, mind, mental factors and matter, corporeal reality, undergoes this phenomenon. They cannot go beyond this phenomenon. It means they cannot be permanent. Having a reason, they cannot exist forever. They doesn't have the nature of causing the ultimate happiness, or they don't have that nature of bringing happiness. There is a certain kind of satisfaction, but it is temporary, and they are not controllable. They are not self. In order to know that the realities in their universal characteristics, one has to have a deeper, sharper wisdom. If someone is capable of achieving this, it's an accomplishment. That is called the act of pariññā, which is much deeper or advanced than the act of abhiññā. For instance, one may know the chair in terms of the subatomic particles, and in order to know their natures, like they do behave like they have the characteristic properties of a matter, and also they have property of a wave, and to know them in terms of their momentum, to know them in terms of their mass, and all the knowing their properties, one has to have a much deeper apprehension or technology. Just knowing a chair can be reduced into subatomic particles, and knowing the characteristics or characteristics of these subatomic particles is much advanced. So likewise, knowing the realities and knowing their universal characteristics, impermanence, the nature of causing suffering, and nature of non-selfness is a much advanced act. This act is called pariññā, the act of pariññā. It cannot be done easily. Just knowing them intellectually doesn't suffice to have accomplished this act. One has to have a practical understanding on this. For that, one needs to be very mindful and constantly aware, and also should have a deeper contemplation. Then the third accomplishment is, so we discussed two accomplishments, the act of abhiññā and act of pariññā. The third would be pahatabbesu dhammesu pahana siddhi, the act of abandoning that should be abandoned. So what is to be abandoned? According to the Buddha's teachings, unwholesome qualities are to be abandoned, such as the hatred, craving, ignorance, jealousy, stinginess, conceit, laziness. All these unwholesome qualities are to be abandoned if someone wants perfect liberation. There are various abandonments: suppression, temporal suppression, deeper suppression, and full eradication. Now here we are talking about the entire full eradication, but it still suppression can also be included here. In order to remove this, the total eradication, it's not an easy task. One has to know the realities in their intrinsic nature and know their true universal characteristics, not just for one time, for many times, to the level till the ignorance is removed. Because our ignorance is to ignore these true characteristics and to think that we are living in a blissful world, and to think and to satisfy ourselves and to consider ourselves as safe, and to think that we are selves. This is the ignorance. In order to remove this, one has to keep on looking into the realities in their true nature. Only then the latent ignorance that has been existing in our mind streams throughout the entire samsara, which wield this reality, can only be removed. That needs lots of effort, that needs a lot of courage, lots of practice. And it's a great achievement. So when you have removed the entire range of defilements, we normally call that person an arahant, fully enlightened person. Then the fourth accomplishment. Fourth accomplishment is bhave tabbesu dhammesu bhavana siddhi. Development of the reality that should be developed. Enhancing the capacity of the realities that can be enhanced. So what is to be removed are the akusalas, the unwholesome qualities. What is to be developed are the wholesome qualities, the good qualities we may say, such as the virtue, the conduct, moral conduct, the act of giving, charity, the loving qualities of such as loving kindness, compassion, deeper understanding, the insight, knowing realities in their true nature and knowing the true characteristics. All these acts are done by certain mental elements which are wholesome, which always leads to a better result, to a better destination, a sugati, or to the final liberation. Their capacity can be enhanced, increased, developed. It's true that akusala can also be developed into certain levels, but never an unwholesome quality can dispel wholesome quality. It may prevent the rising of wholesome qualities, but there is no possibility that one develops the unwholesomeness to its peak and completely abandon forever the wholesome qualities. No, such a phenomenon is not existing. It is not happening. It is not possible. So therefore Buddha recognized its akusala, unwholesome, can be completely removed or dispelled or destroyed by developing wholesome qualities. So therefore what is to be abandoned is the unwholesome qualities, and what is to be developed are the wholesome qualities. We can have mundane qualities developed into sublime qualities, kamavachara to rupavachara, and then to a arupavachara, lokuttara, to the supramundane level. Their capacity can be increased, and they give lots of good blissful benefits. In the ultimate sense, everything other than nirvana turns into be has the nature of bringing suffering, but this bliss is better than the bliss that one gets with unwholesomeness, and also they leads towards the ultimate bliss. So these developing them, one has to constantly abide with a good virtue, discipline, physical and verbal, and also mental discipline, and to elevate these mental qualities, the wholesome qualities, to the level of supramundane. One has to have lots of courage, effort, and lots of practice. It cannot be done in 1 or 2 sessions or 1 or 2 days. One has to practice for many lives in order to do that. Then the last accomplishment is Satchika tabbesu dhammesu satchikarana siddhi. Attaining what needs to be attained. Especially we are referring to the nirvana, the unconditioned reality. I'm not going deeper into this idea. Nirvana is the abandoning of the suffering that is about to happen, that would happen, which the potency, the getting rid of the potency of suffering, possibility of suffering. So, as long as we possess defilements, even though while we are in this existence, it is inevitable, no, it's for sure that we are bound with the suffering that is going to happen if we die. Even if we die suddenly, we will be born somewhere else. So therefore we are bound with the suffering. So that suffering has not arisen yet, it is about to happen. That suffering, the getting rid of that suffering is called the nirvana. It's called anupada nirodha, anupanna nirodha, or anupada nirodha. Cessation of the suffering that would have happened if the causes prevailed. It's not an easy task to attain this. One has to remove the causes. For that, one has to develop the capacity of the wholesomeness. For that, in doing that, one understands the realities in their true natures. Only then one will be able to attain this nirvana. Therefore, all these 5 accomplishments, abhinya, parinya, pahana, bhavana and satchikarana, knowing realities in their true nature, intrinsic nature, knowing their true character, universal characteristics, abandoning that what should be abandoned, developing the capacity of the wholesome qualities and attaining the unconditioned reality are the tasks or the accomplishments in the Buddhist dispensation. These accomplishments cannot be attained by simple means or by a simple cause or by a simple effort. For that, one has to have lots of mental energy, mental strength, mental support. So in the end, we are going to accomplish these things by ourselves. Not even a Buddha takes us there. For example, if someone is disabled, we can carry him to a certain destination, but no one can take us or makes us to accomplish this unless we do it by ourselves. Therefore, it's true that the guidance is important, but in the end, ultimately, we are the ones who have to make these accomplishments. So there should be some support within us. There should be some strength within us, which enables us to achieve these accomplishments, to reach these final destinations, these 5 accomplishments. So as the Buddha puts forward, there are 4 factors, mental factors or mental elements that would lead us towards these accomplishments, that are required or necessary for us to reach them. We would say they are compulsory factors. At least one has to be there in order to reach them. So what are these? These are the means of accomplishment, reasons of causes of accomplishment. What are they? Chanda, the zeal or the desire. Not the desire with attachment. It's a desire to accomplish, desire to reach some destination. Chanda we call. Virya, effort. The mental energy that doesn't let us to give up a certain task that we have already initiated. The capacity which sustains a certain act that we have already initiated. In this case, our practice to reach these accomplishments, our desire to reach these accomplishments is chanda, our effort or our nature of not giving up, striving, enduring all the hardship is the virya. then the consciousness inclined towards these accomplishments. It's slightly different from the desire. Desire is a wanting that burns in our mind to achieve this. It always pushes us towards our destination. Chitta means our mind is inclined towards it. We are not able to forget it. We always keep it as one of our duties to do. Some sort of a self-imposed responsibility. For example, if we are supposed to submit a dissertation or a thesis to the university, and if the deadline is given, we know that always it circulates in our mind. Sometimes we may say it haunts our mind. We are unable to focus on other stuff. We always think that I have to submit this. Time is running away. So we always try our best to get involved in accomplishing our thesis or the dissertation. So our mind is inclined towards this. So likewise, if someone knows the dangers of samsara, and if someone understands how dreadful it is to remain in this samsara and how important it is to get rid of this samsara in the opportunity, during the opportunity we got, in this opportunity we got, it's difficult to forget this. Sometimes the mind keeps on reminds us, now we have to do meditation, we have to be mindful, we have to always find a way to end this suffering. We should listen Dhamma, study Dhamma and so forth. So the mind that is inclined towards these accomplishments. What are these? Abhinya, Parinya, Pahana, Satchikarana and Bhavana is called Chitta. It's quite important. So a person, when this predominant factor, this factor of accomplishment is present, our mind is always fixed with these tasks. Then Vimansa, the wisdom of investigation. Some who knows that they have to accomplish these tasks would, instead of having a strong desire, instead of putting effort, instead of fixing our mind into it, for some would like to investigate thoroughly what is this path, what is the use of this accomplishment, how should one attain this, what are the ways of accomplishment, and how does this happen, what sort of changes that I should make, what are the easier or longer paths, and what path suits someone or suits me. So likewise, having a thorough investigation. So some just don't plunge in or jump into this path. They thoroughly study, investigate, and then work according to a plan. Some would reach that accomplishment with such a strategy. So that mental element which studies and investigates and strategizes this path is called Vimansa. It's also quite important. So these are the 4 reasons of accomplishment. So it is mentioned in the scriptures that without having at least one, it is not possible for someone to reach these accomplishments. It's nothing to say about these spiritual accomplishments. Even without any of these factors, one would not be able to do something significant in their life. For example, if someone wants to conquer the world in the unwholesome side, okay, but still he should have any of these factors even in the unwholesome side. Vimansa would not participate in killing, but strategizing, yeah, it's necessary, even in a war. Not for the sake of killing, while he's intending to kill, something else is working there. But while he's studying the warfare, or knowing that these are the ways that one can have an effective attacking and so forth, wisdom is working there. But while getting involved in the warfare, and surely wisdom is not working, it's some different mental factors are running, because wisdom can never harm someone else. For example, if someone wants to, a short, minor accomplishment, if someone wants to write a book, one has to have either a strong desire, a consciousness fixed on it, or an effort, or of higher wisdom. Only then you'll be able to accomplish it. So these factors are necessary not only for spiritual accomplishments, even for other accomplishments in our lives, which can be considered minor compared to the spiritual accomplishment, but which are significant. Now, you don't need these mental factors or causes in order to take a bath, for example, to have a meal, to drink some cup of water. Yeah, you have to have some effort. You have to stretch your arm and take the cup and put it into your mouth. There is some sort of effort, some sort of consciousness, some sort of wisdom involved, then not to drink something unhealthy and to look into the cup and see whether there is some dirt or anything. But we are not talking about such trifle acts. Here, the attention is given at significant acts, such as writing a book that is useful to the world, or doing an experiment, finding out, investing something new, creating something that would be useful to the world, or even conquering the world, coming into, for example, coming into a presidency, or getting into a higher position in the life, becoming super rich. One has to have some strategies. Unless you are born in a rich family, that is a different case, because it's not something that you have accomplished by yourself. So all these significant achievements need some sort of mental strength. Nothing to say about the spiritual strengths, spiritual achievements that we have already discussed. So any significant accomplishment in the life, be it mundane or spiritual, needs some mental strength. So according to the Buddha's teachings, there are 4 types of strengths. So 4 types of causes that enables us to achieve them. They are the desire, effort, consciousness, and the investigating wisdom. Now we'll go into them one by one. One gets a desire to attain. Now, having listened to the Dhamma, having known the bliss of the Nirvana, knowing the bliss of being an Arahant, or a benefits of being a Buddha, or a Pacceka Buddha, a silent Buddha, whoever. When we listen to them, when we listen to Dhamma talks, a desire comes in us. Oh, I want to attain this. The desire is very important in order to attain. It even comes at a very higher level of vipassana wisdom, munchito kamyata jnana. But it will be appeased when you come to the sankarupekka level. But it is something important. The chanda has to be there. Even in the sankarupekka level, the desire doesn't reduce. Desire comes into a sort of a middle level. Desire is still there, but not intense like in the munchito kamyata wisdom. I'm talking about something very close to the attainments. Nothing to say in the beginning. One has to have a strong desire. Because normally the desire arises in us. So then we are able to abandon or give up all the pleasures that we are indulged in, and we work towards the desire. So one gets the desire to ordain, to leave the household life, to do some practice, to give up at least temporarily give up some, take a rest break from our occupation or family and go into some seclusion, to get involved in Dhamma. So this desire, for some, this desire would be the main reason in the path towards the liberation or towards the accomplishments. The best example we can get is Venerable Rattapala, who was the son of a very rich person. Having listened to the Buddha's teachings, he had a desire that it's not easy to accomplish these tasks being a layperson, so I should accomplish these tasks. For that, I have to make a sacrifice. I have to give up my household life and family and be a recluse. And the desire was so strong, while the parents were not giving him, they're not allowing him, or not giving any permission, he started starving. He rebelled against the parents. Rebel means it's a very innocent protest. He said, I would not have any meals unless the permission is given. The Indian parents had to give him. Then he practiced for 12 years and finally attained arahanthood. So due to his chanda, he even was able to give up his meals. Why? Because he knew in order to accomplish these tasks, he has to give up the household life. It's not a compulsory thing, but to achieve it in such level, one has to give up household life. So only then he'll be able to practice smoothly. So he attained, his attainments was, his main reason of accomplishment was chanda, the desire. The desire was so strong, he could give up the household life, a rich life, a life or a household which could sustain an entire country during a famine. So that's why he was given the name Rattapala, one who could protect the country in a famine, such wealth that he had. Then virya. Virya is not stopping, not giving up what you have already started. In the chanda's case, the desire is pushing you forward. In the virya's case, even at the obstacles, he does not stop. He keeps on moving, keeps on going. He endures all the hardship and keeps on continuing. Some walk on this path with this quality, virya. The best example is Sona. He was also a son of a rich man who even had hair on his soles because he had not stepped on the ground, as the story goes. Somehow he got interested in the Buddha's teachings and he gave up the household life, became a monk and practiced erroneously. He did lots of walking meditation intensively, even to the level that his smooth or soft soles were broken and they were bleeding. So while he could not walk, he even crawled on the path, mindfully contemplating on the realities or doing vipassana meditation. Buddha had to come and balance his efforts, then only he was able to attain. But he became the predominant, most prominent disciple in terms of wholesome effort. So likewise, even not even to that level, one has to have a great effort in order to accomplish these 5 tasks. That's called virya. Then we move on to chitta. Chitta is the mind is inclined. If your chitta Iddhipada is prominent, you will always remember these tasks. Always the mind would say, you have to meditate, you should practice. Sansara is so suffering, it's better to get out of the nirvana. The mind is fixed towards it. It's a little bit closer to the desire, but in this case, our mind is inclined. It's not the burning nature that like desire that pushes you. It's sort of the mind takes it as a sort of a responsibility, self-bestowed responsibility. So the one who has the Chitta Iddhipada would not be able to forget these tasks. Mind is well fixed. The best example is Venerable Sambhuta, who was practicing in one of the dreadful forests during the Buddha's time. Which my memory was, either it was Andavana or Sitavana. I'm not perfectly sure which forest it was, but obsessed by demons. It was very famous for this. So while he was meditating alone, a deity called Sivaka was traveling in the skies with 2 of his attendants, the demons, and he said, it's quite dangerous to be in this forest, so you have to guard them. So he appointed these two and went away. So when Sambhuta, he walked up from his meditation, and then the two demons explained why they are here. Then he mentioned, no, we have a much better guardian, a guard given to us by the Buddha. That is our mindfulness. We are guarded by mindfulness. Our mind is always guarded by mindfulness from all the defilements. So therefore, don't bother about us. You just go and be involved in your work. Let us guard ourselves. Then they went, he practiced, and soon he became an arahant. His mind was well fixed on the practice. He was well focused on the practice, dedicated towards the practice. So this is called Iddhipada. So either if we doesn't have that desire, or either we doesn't have that effort, at least we should make these achievements a self-imposed responsibility, and we should be well focused on them. You should always think about them. That would also take you to this destination. Then the Vimansa, walking upon the path, having studied it, having known it properly, deeply understanding it, having understood it. What are the proper means? What are the possible ways? Vimansa Iddhipada. One does not just walk upon this because of the desire, or doesn't have much effort, as some does, or the mind is not that much inclined, but they study the scriptures and the path very thoroughly and first understands, is this a safe path? Does this make sense? How the path grows, how the faculties grow, and how could one attain this? What are the paths explained? What suits me the best? So likewise, he thoroughly investigates, and then he implements it. He's not just having studied and staying idle. He implements and he strategizes, how should I walk upon this path? This is called Vimansa Iddhipada. In the end, everyone should have some effort or desire to go there, but in this case, sometimes the predominance is the faculty of investigation. He knows what to do, so that would be his main guiding torch. So first, so he is very clear about the path, and with that clarity, he'll be able to walk upon this. That is called Vimansa Iddhipada. The best example given in the books is Venerable Maggavihari. Having heard the news that the Buddha has appeared, instead of just believing and going towards him, and he was quite old as well, he sent his disciples and asked them to investigate. He said, if he is a really enlightened, fully enlightened Buddha, you should not just believe him. You go and ask him the questions with your mind, and he should answer with the words. He should be able to say what are the signs of a great man this I possess, the Maggavihari possess. And also these are the qualities of supremely enlightened Buddha. So he sent his disciples and they investigated him, and all became nobles. Out of the 16, 15 became arahants, 1 became anagami, together with their disciples, a quite big, huge number. That number says 16,000, 1,000 each. And the last disciple who became anagami brought Buddha to Maggavihari, and in the end Maggavihari became enlightened, and he said that yes, he's for sure he's a fully enlightened Buddha. So he stepped upon the path, having investigated who the Buddha is. So likewise, some would study the Dhamma, study the path, and then walk upon this. These are the 4 predominant qualities. So if we want to have these accomplishments, we have to at least have one of them. If someone has 2, 3, or 4, it's the better. More the better. More the better. But in terms of the Abhidhamma, none of these 4, none of them, 2 of them can never appear in the same consciousness. They can be predominant in different levels or different occasions in our life. But one cannot achieve these accomplishments, spiritual achievements, without any of them. So it's very important that these factors are developed. They take us towards the accomplishment, like the leaves that is fallen on a current of a river, water current. What happens? The leaves, the sticks, they just cannot hold or go against the water current. They'll be taken away to the direction where the current flows. So our entire mind stream would be guided or taken towards these accomplishments by these means. Now, consciousness, it's something quite deeper. Ones who have studied the Dhamma wouldn't understand this. Consciousness doesn't arise alone. It is associated with mental factors. So we say chitta chetasikas, and it arises and passes away, and it happens like a mind. It happens as a stream. So we call it the mind stream. So the mind stream is. So if we want to achieve something, accomplish these accomplishments that we already mentioned, the mind stream has to go towards them. It's not a physical movement, but our mind has to work towards them. That we have to, the mind has the capacity of the mind stream in general has to increase as a stream, as a one generation, and then only we'll be able to achieve them. So the mind has to work towards them, not towards other work. One is not going to be get enlightened if he is involved in some other work other than following the Dhamma. If someone is involved in killing, he'll never be able to achieve these tasks while his mind is directed towards that. It doesn't mean that one who has killed would not be able to achieve them. While if his mind is directed to some other direction, it will not be able to make these accomplishments. So these mental forces would takes our mind, drags our mind towards these accomplishments. They are like a very strong, powerful current of water that takes all the leaves, sticks that has fallen upon it. So how to develop these qualities? One is, if someone has practiced them in past lives, naturally they would occur. And the next thing is that we have to develop them in this life. In order to develop the chanda, you have to always contemplate the benefits of these achievements, the disadvantages of being idle and getting stuck in the samsara. So when you see the benefits, the chanda would increase, the desire to attainment would increase. It happens by seeing the disadvantages of the samsara and the advantages of the nirvana and these accomplishments. If someone wants to develop virya, the same thing has to be done, contemplating the good and the bad respectively, and also contemplating the lives of the Theras or the spiritual leaders who strived for liberation, about the Buddha's character, that story, how he strived hard for their liberation and so forth. So only then the effort can be developed, and also we have to make some efforts that keep on striving. For example, if we are developing our physical capacities, you have to keep on. If someone has to develop the capacity of the body, a sportsman, he has to keep on running, jogging, and doing the physical stuff. Day by day, he has to increase. If he ran 100 meters, next day at least 150 meters or 200 meters. It's such a speed. Maybe slower, he starts slower, then he has to increase the speed, then the physical capacity would get enhanced. So likewise, if someone practices for half an hour, then you have to increase for 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. So likewise then, the effort, the capacity of the effort would blossom. Chitta, in order to that, we have to always reflect upon them, of these benefits. Try to recall these benefits and also forth. Think about nirvana, think about the attainments. It's not that you have to keep on thinking on them while you're meditating. In the other times, always try to change our attitude. So then the mind would automatically fix in it. Then what happens? Our mind would not forget this. The mindfulness would always come up. That would be one of the great reasons for us to walk upon this path, because our mind is fixed on these achievements. In order to get the Vimansa, you have to study, you have to think, investigate, discuss, listen to Dhamma, question the Dhamma, question the path, clarify the doubts. Then the map would be clear. So it's such a doctrine that the Theravadians have preserved, that the path can be explained from A to Z with all the clarity. So if someone studies this, investigates this, the Vimansa, the faculty of investigation, would be developed. So likewise, one has to develop these predominant factors or the reasons of accomplishment. Only then one would be able to attain the final liberation. So I would conclude the talk. So the today's talk was about Iddhipada, the reasons of accomplishment. To sum up, accomplishments, there are 5 accomplishments: Abhinya, Parinya, Pahana, Satchikarana and Bhavana. Abhinya means knowing the realities in their intrinsic nature. Parinya is knowing their universal characteristics such as impermanence, the nature of begetting suffering and the non-selfness. Pahana is abandoning the unwholesomeness. Bhavana is developing the wholesome qualities. Satchikarana is attaining the liberation. So these cannot be achieved by simple means. For that, one has to have a higher mental capacity or strength. So there are 4 types of strengths or courses that enables us to make this achievement. They are Chanda, the zeal; Virya, the effort; Chitta, the consciousness; Vimansa, the investigating wisdom. Chanda, a desire, would take us towards their effort. Due to effort, we will not stop our efforts, endure all the hardship and keep on continuing. With the consciousness, Iddhipada, our mind is always fixed on these achievements. We not forget them. Vimansa, we thoroughly investigate and know them in clarity. So one would be able to walk smoothly on this path. So they can be developed. They should be developed. Only then we'll be able to attain this path, attain these achievements. So last time we discussed about how the Eightfold Path, step by step, makes us go towards the liberation one by one. So these are the predominant factors which drags you towards this achievement. They are like the fuel that is necessary in order to accomplish or reach the final destination of this long journey, which is not an easy one. So I wish you all the best. May you all be able to develop these 4 capacities to the utmost level, and may you be able to attain the highest spiritual bliss achievement according to your wishes. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So lots of thanks and merits to Bhante Sumitta, who is the advisor and the president of this Dhamma USA, due to whom we are able to share our knowledge with all of you, and who is guiding this platform, a Dhamma platform which helps to lots of beings to follow the Dhamma and practice properly. So thank you very much for Bhante, and also I wish him good luck and good health, and also all of us, all of you, the listeners, may also be liberated soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you so very much, Venerable Maggavihari, for this profound speech on Iddhipada. In the neglected discourse, Viradha Sutta of Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha mentions bhikkhus, those who have neglected the 4 bases for spiritual psychic power, have neglected the noble path leading to the complete destruction of suffering. Those who have undertaken the 4 bases for spiritual power have undertaken the noble path leading to the destruction of suffering. These four bases are Chanda, Chitta, Virya, and Vimansa. Chanda is intention or purpose or desire or zeal. Virya is effort or energy or will. Chitta is consciousness or mind or thought. Vimansa is investigation or discrimination. I'm sure all our Dhamma friends around the world were benefited today. We will take up your questions next week, and we encourage you to send your questions through the Dhamma USA and IIT YouTube channels. With that, we conclude today's Dhamma sharing, and we look forward to meeting you with more insightful Dhamma sharings in the coming weeks. Once again, we would like to dedicate today's Dhamma sharing to late Venerable Navene Arya Dhammanayaka Mahathero. Let us keep our palms together close to our hearts and pray that by the power of all the Dana Sila Bhavana activities that we all have performed during our lifetime and during our whole course of samsara, become one united power, and may it be shared with the late Nayakathero, Most Venerable Navene Arya Dhammanayakathero. May he attain his cherished spiritual goal of perfect enlightenment, Samma Sambuddha. May all the wonderful celestial beings, respectful Brahmas and Devas, and all sentient beings receive this merit and share this merit and be well, happy, healthy wherever they are. May all your departed ones, including the late Acharyas, Upadhyayas, preceptors, parents, and all the other ancestors, all the departed ones, also receive this merit, share this merit, be well, happy, healthy, safe wherever they are. May all of us be able to live our life peacefully, comfortably, with good health. May all of us and all sentient beings be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, the absolute peace and happiness at the end of our samsara. Thinking thus, please keep your palms together close to your heart and say 3 times, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhe deghayuko bhava bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada suddhi bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada suddhi bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada suddhi bhavantu te Abhivadana Silis Nichang Vadhapachayino Chattaro Dhamma Vadanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Balang Ayurarogya Sangpati Sagga Sangpati Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sangpati Viminate samijjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. See you again next week at the same time. Good night and Thiruvan Saranai.